All right. So let's jump into the next topic. The next topic is going to be about the offensive war setup.
Oh, it's so small. So small.
Yeah, no.
Oh, there we go.
All right. So Darth, as we have yours up here, and tell me your thought process as you're setting up your war offensive teams.
I usually do it by collection power, basically. As you can see, it's kind of sorted in that way. Once you get down a little lower, it'll finish. I mean, there's only 13 of them there, so it's not much thought of as far as doing it. But like, so Infinity Watch. You know what my Infinity Watch is for.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what my Infinity Watch is for.
Address.
Yeah. That's right. I'm looking for a hand squad. But so symbiotes, I'm going for. Well, until last war, I was going for a Secret Avengers. So, unfortunately, that blew up in my face a few times last war.
Let's pause on that one because that's where I want to kind of talk about it so we can learn from each other because that was what I was doing too. Every time I saw Secret Avengers, I was going after them. Now, my experience and where I get my ass kicked is in regards to the like security. I can't win. Is that what happened to you?
Yeah, that was my problem. There was a 7 red Kestrel on the other team, and so no matter who she chose, she deleted them.
Yep.
On her
I
first
can
turn.
have red Pascal for you. You know how?
Oh no, I'm just saying that's bad, but I wouldn't use mine on defense.
Oh, I'm teasing you. I'm
Still-
sorry. No, I thought we did derail. I just wanted to know X Force took care of that. Sorry.
Not
Continue.
that either. I'm not gonna trash somebody on this thing. I was so mad though. Let's move on. Secret Avengers now. That's a great team. I use that on against almost anything. I'm looking for a big Doom squad. Honestly, I think we've said this before. I'm looking for a Doom squad so that I can use Sharon Carter's second turn ability block that Doom, and it all pretty much goes very easily with that squad right there.
Okay.
Black Orders for anything. I don't look for anything particular with that. They'll kill anything old meta. Young Avengers, New Warriors. I'm looking for something big, basically. So looking for something. Those Silver Surfer, Coulson, Black Bolt teams. I'm
Is
looking
there
for them.
anything with that squad that you would avoid?
Heroes for Hire, probably.
Or would you put up against?
Yeah. You don't go. I have used them for cleanup with Silver Surfer,
Okay.
but with Silver Surfer instead of Falcon. But it was still bad. Like it's even that like Deathpool didn't get to take a turn. Thankfully, I have you can see it there, 6 red Deathpool. So she has a higher damage than my 6 red Silver Surfer. So she got killed before she even got to go, but thankfully they didn't kill Silver Surfer, so he got to work his magic, and I came out victorious. But it was like I went against 3 players, and I wound up with Silver Surfer and one of those other characters left.
So would you? So I would imagine you wouldn't set them against Infinity Watch because they don't land.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
Everything
Right,
else is fair game.
Yeah, pretty much. I would take on anything except for Infinity Watch and Heroes for Hire with that, and give it a shot. We talked about this last week. I'm looking for a big old Doc Ock. I took a team that was only 400k last war, but it had a 230k Doc Ock. So that's the most important thing on that team. It doesn't matter what the rest of it is. That Doc Ock is the real danger, and you need that stun is key to kill that big Doc Ock. I poorly used my X-Force. I thought they were going to go against symbiotes, but not mine, apparently. And then we just get down to uncannies for anything old meta. I don't look for anything. What the hell are they called? White Tiger and Friends. They're
Shadowland.
yeah, there you go. Marauders used to be Marauders. Now I'm looking for a new Warriors team because they're a good counter to that, because you can just delete Cloak or at least ability block them right out the gate, and it stuffs their team up. Again, that's an Marauders counter, and a lot of times I'll put Rhino in position where Namor is, and I'll change the grouping of them so that Shatterstar and Longshot are both next to Rhino, and I'll take a Brotherhood Doom team with that. I'm looking for a 500 to 600k mercenary team with that mishmash there with Zemo, And then it's just some old cleanup. Technically, I'm looking for, I don't know, Guardians or something crazy like that with my little power armor, and then I'm after a mirror match basically where they have She-Hulk instead of Ultron.
Cool. I guess the question to have, like, as you start setting this up, and you get into like the new, like a new war, the battle that we're facing, do you kind of stay within your own script? Like, you know what I mean by that is like just the way you kind of outline, you see certain defenses and you got a counters, kind of lined up on there. But like, do you ever? I mean, is there any other, like, I guess free agent? I call them free agents. Like any leftover people that you start kind of tinkering with that's not on here. Like I didn't see. Wait, is Hella on your defense?
Yeah, Hella's in my defense right now, but Silver Surfer's just not on that group because he is that floater. I
Yeah.
will put him. It'll depend. Like I use him. Like he is a hero for hire cleanup. So I've used him with power armor to clean up a heroes for hire that was really small. I've used him, like I said, with New Warriors. I've used him with Secret Avengers to clean up. He's basically I feel that he's the key to cleaning up a heroes for hire. So
Okay.
he's one of the plug and plays there.
Okay. And I guess the other thing is, and you are kind of, I guess this is more like alliance aspect of it as far as thinking, but you pretty much kind of had the tendency to just hang back and make sure you kind of bang out the big team that kind of comes into whatever given room just to kind of keep us moving, right? Like you just that's the
Right.
tendency that I've noticed from you. Like you're not going in there fighting anybody just to fight them because there's your counter and it's like a low, like it's a big punch down kind of thing. You just kind of hang back and make sure that you pop the big ones that needs to be popped to get us going.
I sit back and wait. I watch a lot. I spend a lot more time looking at War Screen than I think I do actually playing it. And so I'll see that big team and I'll be like, okay, I'm going to give it 4 or 5 minutes and I'm going to see if anybody else wants to give it a shot because I don't want to seem like I'm point hungry, but I also want us to move.
Yeah.
Like we can't get hung up on a team. So if I go do, let's say I go do a raid battle or two and then I come back to war and I look again and that team is still there, then I'll just take it
Yeah.
or I'll at least attempt to. Like I want us to, as nice as it is to have a lot of firepower for the big global rooms, it doesn't do you any good if you can't get moving and they're smoking you because they're getting to your globals first.
Very valid point. It's such a balance with guys at your level, Darth, because quite honestly, you do need to keep the ball moving and clear the room, but at the same time, you need to have something in the gun for when you get to the armory. But your point, you got to know that balance because if you don't, then you'll never get there.
Yeah, every war's different. It depends on how you do. If you're running into 1 million defenses on their flight decks, well, then it's probably not going to matter. We're probably not going to go after their fucking armory anyway. We're going to skip that one. So I'm just looking to make us move at that point and calling it an L.
All right. Well, let's jump over to Menace, kind of see what he has over here.
It's better to go last with him. His offense is way more impressive than mine.
I don't know. We'll go last on mine so y'all can laugh at mine. But
Okay, well, okay, comedy last.
yeah, comedy. That. All right, Menace. So here you go. It's almost. I'm gonna kind of go through it here with you. I mean, like, you see kind of the same similarities, right? You got your Black
Yeah, those are
Warrior,
submitted.
Infinity. So I think we'll kind of go through that pretty quick, and then there's your Fantastic Four. Now here's interesting. I didn't see this up on Darth. So you do have the what do you call them? The
Yeah,
Supernaturals. Who do you have them
yeah.
going against?
Full disclosure on this: both the Fantastic Four offense team and that Supernatural are no longer used. They're there because, like, depending on the war, I'll go in a lot lighter with Supernatural if that's the team, and then still have the New Warriors now. My biggest problem with my roster is finding teams that are what's the word? That it's not an entire waste because I don't have I have very few middle teams. I either have this as a joke or this is I crush something. Like for instance, you look at my Inhumans. That's what I consider like more of a middle team where I'm trying to find a decent use for that. Versus say my X Force, which is in war, is actually closer to 800k. So I'm sitting there like, okay, I could clear Doc Ock at 500k with this, but is that really what I want to do with that team? So those two don't generally. Well, the X Force or excuse me, the Fantastic Four and the Supernatural have more or less been retired, and same thing with Baron Zemo now. My true teams are gonna be everything else, if I remember right.
Okay. Yeah, and of course
So,
I know we just kind of do it spur of the moment, so it's not like legit
mm,
organized.
mm.
But yeah, I'm kind of looking at stuff that kind of pops up the radar, and if you see something Darth, you can jump into. But I mean, let's talk about your X Force. I mean, because it is a pretty beefy X Force team. I mean, who do you use? I know within our talks, you kind of sounds like you use them against anybody, but I mean, who do you primarily see that you want to use them against?
So there's a couple teams that I would put them against, and mind you, that X Force with the 7 red Negasonic and the 6 red X-23. Not to be braggadocious, but when that Negasonic goes in, it's a whole different fight after she's slammed them, removed their defensive down, and then I'm working versus somebody who may not have that as much because if they keep the defense up or whatever the case. So a lot of the things I'm able to do with this team is on just lucky pulls. However, I will use this team on a lot of different things. If I find a beefy Coulson team, that Coulson and Human team, I'll take it with that. I'll take out a symbiote team with this. I'll take out an X Force if I have to. Not an X Force, excuse me. Uncanny, an Uncanny if I have to. Not Uncanny. God, Axeman, an Axeman. If I see the big one on defense, you go right for Beast. You take them out. Still get caught behind the Bishop thing a little bit, but they can kill it. Uh, what else? They'll
But
also
seriously, use them against Axemen? That's
you
crazy.
can.
And it's just because they
Yeah.
have more speed than them, I guess, because you kind of kill their speed
Well, you
guy.
get around a lot of things. So,
Yeah.
for instance, yeah, you control you. They go really quick first. So, what you're able to do is you're able to remove the beast if mind you, there's factors involved like defense down and things like that. But you're able to remove beast from the equation a lot easier with them. You can ability lock beast with X-23, so they're not getting that extra heal. They have options like if you're caught behind the taunt Deadpool special and then you can finish off beast, and once you remove beast and or Jubilee, you really change that team. They're not getting the counters, they're not getting the blinds, they're not getting the heals as much, and they have the ability to take out that dynamic real quick. It's you got to know what you're fighting though. It's not like a hey, I just see an X-Men, I can do it. That
Yeah,
number, and yeah, like it is a possibility.
because it's funny because as soon as you say that, I look at your Axemen team and I'm realizing, oh, of course you know them. Look at that. Like you got a freaking
Yeah.
level that you have them up.
But that too, like I don't have a solid use for Axemen right now. Like I like the stage of war that it's in right now. Like you have what used to be I need to hold these back teams built enough from previous experience that you get to actually take out equivalent on the other side. Like somebody else, the teams we face, they have beefy teams that's like, all right, that's not their heroes for hire, but that is one hell of a Black Order. Or that's one hell of a whatever the case may be. How do I remove that thing? Because I need to have a real answer. So that's where teams like Axemen now and X Force are coming in for me because they're my wild cards. And even a lot of like Shadowlands is the same deal. I don't have a steady use for them, but if I have a viable weapon against whatever potential wall I'm hitting, just due to the size of them.
Gotcha. Yeah, so there's that beefy Axemen. You got your Shadowland. And let's see what else you got.
I'll use Skilletary. I'll use all these teams, including the X Factor team or the Weapon X team. But I'm playing with that one right now. And
Yeah, I had him on my list too. I'm curious to try to see who I can face against him. So, I know Darth, you still have your beast on defense, right? Along with the Silver Samurai. So I know you. I don't think you've been able to play them. But did you use this team yet, Menace? On
I
just
have not to a lot of success, and I'm trying to be. I mean, obviously they're missing Omega Red, and I'm trying to be cognizant. Like I said, of the one red star on Lady Deathstrike, she's 64K. Look at the gap between Lady Deathstrike and Wolverine, for instance.
yeah,
A lot of that team power is very deceptive of where it's actually at and what it's able to get away with.
yeah,
So I've been playing with it, seeing how the mechanics worked. I put them against the Heroes for Hire to see, okay, how fun is this team going to be? I haven't won with them yet, even punching down. But it's I can see the viability of this team. It's going to be really fun.
yeah. All right. Well, then I'm gonna jump onto my roster now, so we can kind of.
We're doing roster roast.
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, we can do all. Was it Rexy
Hold on,
style? Yeah,
before
go.
we do that, Darth, there's a couple of questions I have. Like, for instance, I saw you didn't have Skilletary, or you don't like Skilletary, or you just like the mix you have.
I never invested in it, Shout out to Morlick for investing too much in it before they got their rework.
Right.
It soured me on the entire experience of Skeletery, so I've broken them up. Yeah, there's my roster. They're down a little bit, but they're right there. It's still Red Guardian. Like there's some
That's
Skeletery on
it.
that team.
It's way more Hydra than it is skeleton.
No, I could put Drax there. Drax would do the same thing for me. But no, my Skeletery, I never invested in them. They are what I consider a totally skippable team. I have 6 reds on Yelena and stuff like that, and she's still gear 12. She'll never move beyond unless she's required as a Mystic Legendary for me, or for a Mystic Legendary.
Dude, they held a special piece of my heart. I didn't invest in them in T4, but I hated going against Taskmaster every single war because it was such a, all right, what's going to happen now? But they are a true counter to that mercenary team, so it has removed a major thorn in my side. So I'm loving them. But you only get one is the problem.
That's what that is. That's what I counter with that still. It's still a mercenary counter. I mean, Zemo's immunity to Hydra allies on turn 1 does the same. You just don't get blinded. The only one that gets blinded is Red Guardian, and then you taunt with him on his first turn, which doesn't matter if you're blinded or not. So it seems to.
I mean, you got the minion factor too because of the field security and stuff. But I don't know. I always struggled even trying Zemo at Taskmaster because I think if I remember right, the speed of Taskmaster was slower than Zemo or something to the point where what I thought was a counter was not going to be. So it depends on the number of mercenary minions he has that controls the speed. But I go in thinking one thing, and for the longest time it was a whole nother.
And that's a 6 red star Grenadier too, but your Grenadier has to have a higher damage than your Zemo, or your Zemo will get a taunt.
Yeah, maybe that was
So
what happened.
that's the key to that. So I have a bigger Grenadier, which makes it easier to do that match.
Are you liking using power armor too? Because it's fun for me. I love the fact of coming back to some of these old teams.
I think we talked about it before. They're either a big win or a big loss.
Oh, sorry, I'm enjoying having it again.
And I think I heard you said that you use your power armor against like the Tech Nova teams, or
Yeah,
okay,
that's the old counter. That's the old.
Yeah.
Ghost can mess that up. So when they got Ghost on it, but if it's literally the old, if it's a Guardians team with Minerva in there, yeah, it does wonders.
Okay.
I've been using power armor against, like I said, Avengers. I've been using them against what's the one, Tech Nova, and then there's another one in there. Oh, Pimtech. Like they do a decent against Pimtech, but to your point, it comes down to Ghost, what she does.
See, I asked that because here's my power armor. I do have them on offense, but I never touch them because I have them at 310. So, but I asked that
Doing
question.
anything for us at that level.
But that's usually so. Let's kind of switch roles. So I'm actually one on the lower TCP. So I had the mindset of coming in, making things move. So I don't want. I'm in a weird position where I have like really high teams and then really low teams. As you just saw. So what I like to do, I want to be able to to know what, especially in the beginning, like the flight deck, they are going to have those Tech Nervas or some teams like that. So I did learn what you use this team against. So I'm gonna have to do the same thing because I tend to just let them sit the bench. But I have a pretty long list here, and that's what I was asking as far as like the theory behind setting it up because I do want to shorten it, but same times I always feel like I kind of, it's funny to even say, like I leave meat on the bone. It's kind of my analogy off of it, which I don't have a lot of meat, but I leave a lot of roster players that I think that are war efficient that I should be using and I don't. So just going through it then, I mean, like here obviously we know about the Infinity Watch. We just talked about Secret Avengers, and then here's the new Warriors. I you know what I hate doing, and it's funny because when he asked when Menace asked Darth the question about like who do you use him against, and he's like almost anybody except for the top two defensive teams. I feel like I keep using them too early, but again, I'm in that weird position within our alliance that I don't want to sit and just have something sit there. So if it's like the last team left there, that's just like a questionable Silver Surfer defense, inhuman type thing, and I'll jump in there and I'll use them up. But anyway, so I'm in that weird boat, and I guess that's why my list is kind of twofold. is that I kind of have the counters. You see, like the other two plug-in plays, like, okay, do I want to use Hela and Loki, or do I want to use Shuri and Falcon? And it just depends on matchups. Do I need to speed up or not? And then, of course, we got Black Order, we got Shadowland, and then here's that X Factor team. And kind of like what Darth says, I also plug in Rhino there if need be against the Doom Brotherhood. We got Axemen, Symbiotes, and then here's my Uncanny. So we kind of almost like we all had the same thing. It's just that the level drastically will go down. So here's my X-Force. And because they're so low, I actually would use them on cleanup. So if I see someone in our alliance that tried to go against a big Doc Ock and left it on there, then I'll bring them in there to clean up the Doc Ock and do something like that. So that's kind of where my list kind of jumps into. Now here's that Skeleton. I do use them against the Mercs with Taskmaster. Now there is that crazy counter off of it, which Menace warned us about, and it was when they had Zemo on defense, right? Do you remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I stole it. It worked so well.
And I just, for whatever, blindedly, I went against that matchup myself and got to face the wrath of how that goes against you. So I did. That's the only one I would say be worry about, because I mean they'll plug in Shuri on the Merc defense, which doesn't it just makes it last a little bit longer. But it's not a true counter against your Skeleton like the way Zemo is. So if you see Zemo there with Taskmaster, and yeah, just be careful. And here's the team that I wanted to tinker with. Now, obviously it's a low-level team because I kind of go about my pace a little bit slower, as we talked about on the whole farming thing. But this is the guy I wanted to plug him in here, and I really wanted to see it in War, and I don't think I used it. And I wanted to use Pyro because of the bleed effects that he gives out, right? And then of course we know that Lady Deathstrike and what she does with all that. So that's who I would recommend using. I know Morlick on our team was asking about it, and I did do it on a test, and they were able to beat up everybody as far as on the even scale without the meta defenses. What I'm talking about, like the old meta defenses. So like you can beat the those Technerva team I was speaking of, even the Hydra, the Red Skull Hydra team. Because, if he comes off, he can blast them and prevent the revives with Silver Samurai. So, it's an interesting team. That's the one I want to tinker with a little bit more.
I do. Yeah, that looks fun.
I want to know the turn order of that, though. I want to know when Pyro goes. Because I know he's not going to go first. He might go last.
Yeah, he is slow.
Or right before Silver Samurai. That's the only problem with that. If he was super speedy and he was definitely first to go, I think that would be like the best substitution probably.
Yeah, and
because he's going to throw up bleeds right away. Sorry
I was
about
thinking
that.
about doing them. No, because to your point, the only way to get his speed going is when he gets hit, right? So I was thinking about putting him next to the taunt of Silver Sam. So that way, if any AoE or something kind of, chained off of him, he takes the brunt of the initial primary hit. And then maybe that will get him going. But we all know he's squishy too, so then that's kind of scary. Yeah. So that's why I pushed him over there. It's like, oh shit. Because to Darth's point, he's slow. And if he were to get blasted, he would never get a turn. So, I don't know.
He's not like too slow, isn't he? Isn't he like, I don't ever remember him being too bad. The problem is that the speed order with Brotherhood is thrown off because you got Toad now who speeds up everybody, or he goes quick, and then. But I thought he was like middle of the pack, if I'm not mistaken.
He might.
At least I hope.
I don't know. I had to look at it more to give you guys straight answers on how that turn order goes. Because again, this is something I just threw for the last war. But for me personally,
I don't know how fast Silver Samurai is, but he's either going to go after, like, Silver Samurai's the thing. He's not going before any of the other three.
Yeah.
That's not because he's slow. It's because they're fast.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, so that's something I need to still kind of tinker with. And then, of course, there's that power armor. I don't know. I used to love the AIM team for whatever reason. I think, who was the primary counters back in the day? I feel like I used to use them against the Asgardians. I can't remember.
There was Aimtron back in the day that
was
would use against
them. It was Aimtron with them. Okay, that's what it was. Yeah. And then here's my starting to kind of do the hybrid teams. So I do like using this one here with Zemo and Hela together, because then when Zemo goes first, puts ability blocked, and you can use Hela's spread. And this actually is a counter against kind of like the mid-tier, like Doom defensive teams. I can get away with some of the more aggressive one. It just depends on who he's surrounded with and what their power level. Really, with the jugs. Whenever I see a Brotherhood, I could go against a Brotherhood team with this, but it just depends. If it's a heavy jug, in a sport, and if it's the other guy, can't think of it. But anyways, the two taunts that they have on the Brotherhood. I mean, sometimes their abilities don't stick, the debuffs don't stick, so that I always got to pay attention to that. And that's about it. And then of course, there's that Silver Surfer and Human team that used to be the counter against the Heroes for Hire, but now I'm using Kestrel somewhere else, and I still like using this as a counter, and it's more like cleanup base. So I'm very more in the mindset of like cleanup. So when I come in there, I'm like, okay, who do I have for Hero for Hire cleanups? That's one of them right there. And then Shadowland is actually the other one. Shadowland is a very key team in war that I'll wrap up with on this whole topic, because I mean we talked about new warriors and how they can kind of counter a lot of teams, but man, what I saw in some other video from the content creators, I'm not sure if you saw Darth, but they're talking about Shadowland being the counters for Weapon X. Did any of y'all see that? Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but why would you use Weapon X on defense?
well, some people would.
Because
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say because it'll pull a lot of wins maybe the first week or two. I will not personally. I used to be that mindset, but I want to use mine on a Heroes for Hire.
Yeah, so that was the theory. Is like someone leaves them on defense just for kicks. Who would be the counter to be? And it's actually Shadowland. So
Who would you target? 'Cause go after Omega Red right from the door.
I think they said Cloak. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. No, I'm thinking. You know, Shadowland targets new warriors too on defense, by the way. So that's the other thing. So now I'm just. So, anyway, so new warriors, if you had them on defense, you actually will go after Cloak. And then for the Weapon X, on that one, I can't remember. Do you remember the target order, Darth?
I do not. I watched it one time in passing.
Yeah.
Right for Omega Red and like get that off the board.
Probably is. But I think what the key thing from what I remember is just the speed aspect of them. They're so fast that you control the matchup by targeting, like you to what you're getting at, Menace. Yeah, you're able to kind of control and target certain people, just like the way you explained with the Axemen, right? You go after the person that's boosting the speed and go after Beast and just start picking them. And I'm sure it's the same way, but I can't remember how it is.
Pick your target.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Get it off the board.
Yep. All right. Well, that's a war side of things. It was interesting. So that was good stuff there that you guys do.